Welcome back to the channel. This is Punched. Happy Friday, and this is Guderian crosses the Meuse, part of the Armored Knights game series by Grognard Simulations. We're going to talk about the French movements and intentions here at the turn, where are we at? The turn 10 operations phase. There's not a whole lot going on. We are at the this is the 0400 turn. It's light twilight. It's May 14th, and not a whole lot is cooking this turn. Because it's light twilight and because I have limited options, I'm holding on to the RAF units over here. I will use them later in the day. Primarily what's happening here on the French side is repositioning and consolidation. So specifically, I have moved some units back a little bit. In one case, popping up a couple of hedgehogs here, and here as just as the opportunity arose. I have the 503rd TG. That's it's a large tank group in this area. I have the 3rd CB. That's a light tank group, roughly right here. I've been trying to lighten up the traffic jam through this general area. And so effectively I've established the 55th Infantry Division Artillery Park here in this area. The 71st is down south. Oh, how did that happen? Actually, I think that might have been a feature. So let's do that. We had a meteor strike from an errant die earlier that wreaked havoc here. All right, so unfortunately, I would love to just basically carpet the entire front line with hedgehogs. However, by the letter of the rules says that you cannot build a hedgehog when an enemy unit is adjacent. And it makes no mention of whether a river is in the way. I will be asking Chris and Robert for their interpretation. That's the game designers, for their interpretation on that. I want to make the case that because units do not exert a zone of control across a river hex, that it would be perfectly fine to put up hedgehogs where there are enemy units adjacent, as long as you are on the other side of the river with no bridge. But we will see what they have to say. So I've moved a few units forward. I've moved some units back. I have begun to pre-position. This is not my first choice right here. This is not my first choice for this artillery unit. I would rather have them more centralized. In particular, yeah, there we go. In particular, I've been paying attention to artillery ranges. So I've got my handy-dandy to scale ruler here. This is my hex ruler. And these French 75s all have 8 hex range. And I'd rather have these guys a little bit further back so that they could range out to just over the river here, the canal rather. But this position actually makes sense because next turn, if there is no real opportunity to fire artillery, I will take the opportunity, or I may fire artillery first. We'll just see what happens. I can't fire the artillery first, but I may sacrifice the ability to fire artillery next turn with this unit in order to put up a hedgehog in this town, because I think that's a pretty decent position there. So we have units here that are pre-positioned. They had to move to get there, obviously. They are set up to build hedgehogs there next turn, so that will give me the start of a strong position here. I already have a hedgehog here, but I have positioned some assets, an engineering unit and a light anti-aircraft. I will be able to put up a hedgehog next turn. So I've concentrated all of my light anti-aircraft down in this area, which is otherwise fairly uncovered. I am ignoring this stretch of the river, of the canal for now. I want to wait to see what happens what kind of developments. Part of this is informed by the fact that I know the Germans are going to cross here and here. I know too much. But you can look at the concentration of forces here in these two sectors, and also looking at the particular river hexes involved. Both of these river hexes crossing, I believe, here in that direction and crossing here in this direction, the bridgehead only is going to be one hex, which means that that you can progress rather quickly from, get a little zoom on there. The two arrows in this case indicate the hexes that I want to establish the new bridges on. Both of these are very advantageous because a bridging unit here only has one hex of exposure, which will be occupied by the bridgehead unit. Same situation here going in this direction, which means that as long as I maintain that one hex bridgehead, then I can progress from assault rafts to Ferry 1, Ferry 2 pontoon bridge rather quickly. It's a lot easier on the attacker to do so. So that's my plan. And we will just say that the French, for their part, are not blind, particularly not blind to the dispositions of the enemy units. And so they can make preparations accordingly, which is to say that I can ignore this stretch of terrain. I've left this bridge. Let's try this. Yeah. I've left this bridge up. There's a reason for that. One is it's rather difficult to do an assault across a bridge because you have to multiply your unit values by 0.25. In other words, you lose 3/4 of your strength trying to come across a bridge, and I have a strong position here. I need a bridge so that when the 21st Corps comes in, they can cross a bridge and get into this area if they need to. So I'm just going to leave that, and that'll work for now. All right, so dispositions. Oh, I've gone ahead. Let's see. Let's zoom this back out a bit. Right. I've added some Post-it notes here to indicate future blocking positions. So this area in here, this road junction right here, a fair number of roads run through there, here and here. That's where I'm going to attempt, at least, to set up blocking positions. What I will be doing is I will be bringing back engineering units to build hedgehogs in these areas as best I can to form a secondary line. Of course, I'll have to occupy them. That goes without saying. That's not the best thing to hope for, but it'll tie down some units back here that could better be used forward, but I'll do what I can. Maybe I pull back some of these light companies and we'll see what happens. So that's it. French turn 10. And really we're just getting ready to receive the Germans, who should be trying to force their way across the Ardennes Canal on this day of May 14th. Interesting thing. So I'm not sure of how the rules are supposed to work. Let me give a nice zoom over here and come in on the sector with the bridges. All right. So the German pontoon bridges are here, here, and as of next turn, this will convert over to a pontoon bridge. I've used all of the pontoon bridges. Well, there aren't any more in the counter mix. What am I supposed to do? I think what I will have to do until I learn otherwise is I will have to leave at least one of the six bridges up, right, to maintain communications, which strikes me as a bit weird given the issues with the divisional sectors meant to lighten up utilization of the road networks in those sectors, meant to spread the panzer divisions out. I'm not sure if it's proper to pull up bridges, but I will leave one bridge up here, more or less centrally located, to maintain communications, and supply. There aren't any particular rules for that other than I do have to be able to trace to the edge of the map. Somewhere around here as well, I believe in this hex, correct, that is my core headquarters. And so everything is in supply except for these folks over here, right here at the very edge of what's going on. That guy, he'll be back in supply soon enough, and it's not terribly consequential right now. But what I believe I'll have to do is have the engineering units take up the bridges. You know, so basically take up the bridges, move them forward, and then try and go across the canal here. But that leaves me with only 5 bridges the way that I'm doing it. So what I would really like to do, and this is where I need to go back to the game designers or ask around and get an interpretation, is once I'm done in this area, what I'd really like to do is move my engineering units or take existing engineering units, such as this one, this one, this one, and just have them spend, I believe it's 1 turn, or I think it's 1 turn, and reconstitute a bridge on these engineering units and then move forward. So leave up the existing ones and reconstitute another, because it is possible, per the rules, to reconstitute a destroyed bridge. So obviously that means if they had 6 bridges and you lose 1, that means supply can come up with a 7th bridge, for example, an 8th bridge, a 9th bridge, and so on. So even though the counter mix is limited, I really think it would be appropriate to do this. In fact, I think that's kind of a little knock on the game, but I need to find out what exactly I'm supposed to do with the rules. Do they only get 6? That's all they get. And you can reconstitute a destroyed one out of your counter mix of 6 and have 6 on the map at one time. That's the literal interpretation of what you've got for the counter mix, but the rules do seem to indicate, well, if 1 got destroyed, even though I'm restricted by the counter mix, obviously in the universe that we're in here, you have 7. So we'll see what happens. I will update the frequently asked questions file on the Grognard Sims Facebook group. It's present in their file section. I will update that as I find out myself. Let me see. This guy's not supposed to be there. That's where he's supposed to be. Okay, so that's the news. Happy Friday. Friday, May 30th. We've come to the end of another month, 2025. And hopefully everyone is doing well. So that's about it. I will do one last thing, and that is that I went ahead and put the German victory locations. I put most of them. I think one of them is covered up by counters over here. One here, and then, bear with me, taking some artistic license over here. Right, okay. So there are other locations here, 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 up here, and right here. These are the exits to the west towards the English Channel, and these are intermediates and a further intermediate right here, and then further on back here. Very well. So I've marked those up on the map. Hooray for plexiglass, and that will help keep me focused on what I need to do here as the Germans, and for that matter, as the French. All right, I've meandered on long enough. Hope you liked the video. If you do, please hit the like button. Love subscribers, really appreciate it, and I'll keep doing these videos. So that's it. Turn 10, Guderian crosses the Meuse, Armored Knights by Grognard Simulations. Turn 10, the end of the French operations phase, and we'll see you all down the road.